There are some people who seem to think that it is wrong for a Christian ever to use common sense. They seem to think that he must always be doing everything in some kind of purely spiritual manner. Now that seems to me to be very unscriptural. The Christian is never less than the unbeliever. He's always more. The Christian is a man who can do everything that the unbeliever does, but more than that. That's the way to look at the Christian. So the Christian is a man who is to apply common sense to positions and to situations. And it is right and legitimate that he should do so. If you can conquer the devil at that level, conquer him at that level. It doesn't matter what level you conquer the devil at, as long as you conquer him. If you really can defeat him and rout him by using just common sense and ordinary wisdom, do so. It's a perfectly right and legitimate thing for a Christian person to do. Now, I'm saying all this because I often find that people are in difficulty about this matter because they fail to do that. They've spent the whole of their time in praying about this thing instead of doing something that I say is perfectly obvious from the standpoint of common sense. Let me go on to explain what I mean. Now, the first thing, in other words, for anybody to say to himself who's in this condition, or if you have to help somebody who's in this condition, the first thing you have to say to them is this: that to be miserable thus in the present because of some failure in the past is a sheer waste of time and a waste of energy. That's all I mean. Now I say that's common sense. The past cannot be recalled. You can do absolutely nothing about it. Here you are in the present. You've become a Christian. You say, oh, if only. But what a silly, what a foolish, what a ridiculous thing to say. You cannot recall the past. You can do nothing at all about it. You can sit down and be miserable and go round and round in circles for the rest of your life. It'll make no difference to what you haven't done. Now that's common sense, isn't it? It doesn't need a special Christian revelation to see that. The world in its wisdom tells us that it's no use crying over spilt milk. Well, apply that to the devil. Why should the Christian be more foolish than anybody else? Why should he fail to apply common sense and ordinary, natural, human wisdom? But that's precisely what these people are doing at this point. They're wasting their time and their energy in vain regrets about something that they cannot affect. They cannot change, they cannot undo it. Now I lay it down as a fundamental postulate of life at any level that is a purely foolish and irrational thing to do. Very well, then let's lay this down as a principle. We must never for a second worry about anything that cannot be affected by us. It's a waste of energy. If you can't do anything about a thing, stop thinking about it. If it's done or hasn't been done once and for all and belongs to that past that is finished with once and forever, never again look back at it, never think of it. If you do, it's the devil who's defeated you, beyond any question. Vain, useless regrets must be dismissed as irrational and idiotic. But oh, how many are victims of that? They sit down and they go back over it and go over all the details again and express their sorrow and their regret and their misery. My friend, stop doing it. Quite apart from Christianity. It's a foolish thing to do. It's a sheer waste of energy, a waste of time. But let's go on. Not only that. To do that simply causes failure in the present. While you are sitting down and bemoaning the past and regretting what you haven't done in the past, you are crippling yourself in the present and preventing yourself from working in the present. Is that Christianity? Of course it is. Christianity is common sense and much more, but it is common sense, let's remember. Ah, but you say, I could have heard that out in the world. Well, if you could, hear it and act on it. Our Lord himself has said that the children of this world are wiser in their generation than the children of light. He commended the unjust steward. I'm simply doing that. The world there, the common wisdom of mankind, is perfectly right. It is obviously a wrong and a foolish thing to be crippling yourself in the present by vain regrets about a past which you can't undo. It is always wrong to mortgage the present by the past. It is always wrong to allow the past to act as a brake or as a drag upon the present. Let the dead past bury its dead. There is nothing, I say, that is more reprehensible, judged by any canon of thought, than to allow anything that belongs to the past to cause you to be a failure in the present. And it does, of course. The people I'm describing are failing in the present. Instead of doing something and getting on with the Christian life, they're sitting down and are bemoaning the past, and they spend hours and weeks and months and, if necessary, years of it. They're so sorry about this that they're doing nothing in the present. How wrong it is. How reprehensible. And my third argument from the standpoint of ordinary common sense and human wisdom is this: that if you really believe what you say about your past, if you're really quite genuine about it, if you really do bemoan the fact that you've lost and wasted so much time in the past, the thing to do is to make up for it in the present. Isn't that common sense again? Here's a person who comes to me in utter dejection. Oh, if only the time I've wasted. And what I say to such a person is, are you making up for lost time? Why are you using these minutes and this energy in telling me about that wasted past which you can't undo? Why don't you put your energy and your time into doing something now? I speak with vehemence because I believe this condition has got to be dealt with in this way. The last thing to do with such people is to sympathize with them. And if you're suffering from this condition, be ruthless with yourself. Shake yourself. Attack yourself. On all grounds of ordinary common sense, you're behaving as a fool. You're irrational. You're wasting your time and your energy. You're not really believing what you're saying. You're indulging in self-pity. If you bemoan the wasted past, make up for it in the present. Give yourself entirely to activity at this present moment. That's what Paul did, wasn't it? Last of all, he was seen of me also as the one born out of due time. For I am the least of the apostles, that am not worthy to be called an apostle, because I persecuted the church of God. But by the grace of God, I am what I am. I've wasted a lot of time. The others have gone ahead of me, but this is the truth. I labored more abundantly than they all. I've made up for it. I've caught up with them. Yet not I, but the grace of God which was with me. Very well, there is the argument. There is the way of dealing with this thing from the standpoint and the aspect of common sense and of ordinary common or God.